Good morning. It's my great pleasure to be here again. It's always good to see a lot of people and obviously hearing very insightful sharing from the other speakers. I want to share a little bit of our experience at OKX. We have been around in the industry collectively for more than 10 years. I think we take pride in what we have been building in both CeFi side as well as Web3 wallet infrastructure. And along the way, we've have bumps. We've learned in hard way. And I want to share a little bit here how we are thinking about being a responsible innovator in this space, because after all, we are here to build for a better future. As we all know, technology can be disruptive, but sometimes we also end up making mistakes. And how can we collectively, as a community, find a better way to innovate and create value in a positive way? I'm not going to spend much time on OKX because I think hopefully most of you know what we have been doing. We have a CeFi business. And over the last few years, we've been investing very heavily in building a regulated CeFi business in multiple jurisdictions, getting licenses. And in parallel, we've been also investing in our Web3 wallet infrastructure and take pride in the strength of the wallet in the community. When it comes to building in a very responsible way, I think the most important thing to start with is mindset. At OKX, we sponsor McLaren. We also sponsor Man City. Luckily, these two, in their own games, are champions of what they do. The games that they play are what we call a finite game, where they play every game. They want to be champion in every game, in every season. And if they win, someone else loses, right, in that specific game. When it comes to the business and the industry that we are in, we would like to think of ourselves playing a different game. We think that we are playing an infinite game, whereby we're not looking for being number one this year or being number one in a particular market or making money in a particular month or year. We want to be in the game for the long run. We want to be able to contribute to building the infrastructure, to building for a better future, to contribute in a positive way. And we have to think about it long term. And that time frame makes a difference, because every decision that we make, either as an industry or as an individual or as an organization, it's always a risk-based decision. It's always a risk-return analysis. And in order to really quantify the risk and return, you always have to have a time frame. And for us, we have to think about it from a long-term perspective. How do we actually make sure that we stay in the game? How do we make sure that we have sustainable growth? How do we make sure that when we build our product, when we build our team, it's not just for this year, it's not just for 2 years or 3 years, it's actually long-term sustainable. That's a very important mindset for our Web3 wallet. Our team has been actually investing in the wallet infrastructure for, I would say, 5 years. Even before we bring the wallet to the market, the team has been investing in understanding different protocols, building the security, making sure that we have a strong talent pool available to sustain that building efforts. And that takes us more than 3 years, 3 to 5 years time frame for us to get our wallet to where we are right now. And when we look at what we are going to do for the next few years, again, it's not about how can we actually make sure that our wallet is number one for this particular year. There are gives and takes and risk-return, risk-based decisions that we have to make. Sometimes we have to roll back certain things in order for us to build a more sustainable foundation for the next few years to come. The second piece is about governance. I think we all talk about Web3 being different from TradFi. But from our experience, there's actually something similar between TradFi and Web3. The key word is governance. The value of Web3, we believe, is really to use technology to ensure that there's checks and balance in place. For example, if you think about Bitcoin as the largest cap crypto right now in the space, what makes it different from the other crypto chains and what it makes it different from the traditional assets is that it's actually public. It has different stakeholders that have checks and balance upon each other. It's open source code, so everyone can see it. And having checks and balance in place, having options, giving people options is very important to keep the large players in the right place and make the right decision. So we believe that governance is really important. So as we think about projects, public chain projects that is out there, when we evaluate, for example, different assets for listing, we also look at governance. We want to see if the project has proper governance in place. If we feel like there's less risk for fraud, right? That's important. When it comes to CeFi investment, again, also, because we are a centralized platform on the other side of our house, and we believe that in order for us to be a responsible player for our customers, it's important to have checks and balance in place. Internally, we have to have 3 lines of defense. The first line of defense who is doing and executing and managing risk on their own. And then second line, we would have to have compliance, a risk team who actually help us check and keep us honest. And obviously, we will have internal audit who, again, keep the first line and second line honest. The reason that we are also making a point of making investment in licenses is also because having a regulator alongside us is also a way for us to keep honest, because we have someone to answer to, in addition to internally our internal structure as well as to our customers. There is a regulator who we need to answer to. So it's important to have that checks and balance in place to make sure that we make the right decision. Another part of having a governance in place is related to transparency. It's actually all related. So if you remember when FTX happened, the whole industry had a very significant setback. But I think it also created the opportunity for us, the industry stakeholders, to really reflect on what we need to do. In Web3, we advocate transparency on-chain, right? But how do we make sure that, number one, for the CeFi players, we actually also have transparency? How do we leverage on-chain technology to provide that checks and balance, to make sure that people can actually verify instead of just blindly trust? And that's how we started doing proof of reserve, and we have been doing it for 29 months straight. And I think it's important because it's an important mechanism to give the community ways to verify, to keep the platform on toe. And also, honestly, I think it's for our industry players, it's important for us as industry stakeholders to educate our community in general that they should verify. They should take steps to verify what other people are saying, what the projects are saying, even what the protocol is doing. And acknowledging that not everyone have the technology sophistication to verify all the technical coding elements, then it's also up to our industry players to figure out how we can develop tools to help people who does not have that technical sophistication to verify properly. And I think it all fits into the infrastructure. So as a result, on Web3 side, from a wallet perspective, we also want to make sure that we provide our customers, our users, wallet users, ways to verify, right? We offer enough, as much information as possible for them to check news, to check suspicious wallet addresses. We try to put tags on suspicious wallet addresses. We also are doing a lot of blacklisting as well in the background, sharing with industry players, identifying bad players, and try to put that on chain as well for people to see and ultimately develop tools for people to use. And I think the habit of not taking people's words at face value, do not blindly trust, but develop ways to verify, and develop force functions to verify is a very important piece to keep the industry in a positive and constructive way and keep innovation responsible. Number 4, what we've learned is framework is very important. I think the previous speakers, quite a few previous speakers talk about the framework, why Web3 is important, for example, how to think about different types of tokens, why does the Web3 industry is bringing value, why meme coin is popular. I think that framework of understanding is very important. It starts with understanding customers, understanding what we are operating in, understanding the key pain points, and then what is the right solution that we need to build. So from our perspective, when we build our product, we view ourselves as infrastructure player. If we think about the overall Web3 industry, there are layer 1 and layer 2s. There are stable coins. These are all important infrastructure that is taking place. We believe that CeFi exchanges and wallet infrastructure is the other part of the infrastructure that will make it important for adoption, for making sure that a healthy market infrastructure is in place. And that's also why when we think about what product and team that we need to put in place. For the CeFi piece, it's important to understand for us that the CeFi platforms, as big platforms, intermediate platforms, we have responsibility to our customers. We have responsibility, as I mentioned, to put ourselves under checks and balances and subject ourselves to regulatory scrutiny. As a result, we need to build our CeFi product in the way that TradFi product does. On the other hand, when it comes to Web3 wallet, we look at different assets available out there, different chains out in the industry, and we believe that there are actually three key things that we as a infrastructure player need to offer. One is security, because when we think about serving the customers, different people come into Web3 for different reasons, either for payment, as Dr. Wenxiang said, there's payment tokens, there are utility tokens, there are security tokens, there are value preservation tokens, there are meme tokens. But the underlying unifying theme is that people are looking for one way or the other to either store their value or create more value or transfer their value. And whenever it comes to value, security is of the utmost importance for people. And that's why when we think about what we want to invest on and focus on investing, security is always the top on our list. The second piece is interruptibility, because again, we understand that our industry is very early, so there are a lot of builders out there building different layer 1 chains or layer 2 chains. So how do we make sure that when we build our wallet as well as our CeFi product, how do we make sure that we ensure the utmost interruptibility so that customers don't have to worry about the technicality behind the codes? They can just go ahead and use what they want to use it for, and we take care of the interruptibility for them. And another big part is, again, convenience of usability. That's why I think when we look at the fundamental framework that we need to build on the wallet side, security, interruptibility, and usability is the three things that we focus on the most. On the CeFi side, we focus the most on compliance and risk infrastructure, and again, using our fundamental framework to understand what actually regulators are looking for, what's the fundamental reason that they're asking for certain things, which is generally consumer protection, and how do we actually identify bad guys in a good way, in an effective and scalable way, and help our customers protect themselves. So those are all fundamental understanding I think are important for us to be effective builder in what we do. I'll be very quick with this one, given time constraint here. Knowledge. On a philosophical level, I know that there's also always debate about whether we have open source code or closed source private codes. We are a big believer in open source, and that's when it comes to public chain. A lot of the Bitcoin, if you see Bitcoin as the largest layer 1 protocol, it is open source, and it leverage on a lot of the shared consciousness, if you will, in the developer community and the different stakeholders to really develop and push. But that's only one part of it. The other part that we as an organization has been going through over the last few years actually is on the CFI side, where when we start thinking about our platform and our team, we think ourselves as engineers and technology innovators, right? We want to innovate. We want to be fast. We want to come up with new interesting, fancy ideas or product to serve the community and address problems. But last few years, we also realized that, as we develop our CFI product, there's also a major responsibility as a centralized platform that we have to take. And there are, as I mentioned, there are best practices from the TradFi industry that we should learn from. So that is a process for us as an organization to really learn, and for our team from the TradFi place who knows how to, put in the best practice of compliance and risk and corporate governance structure in place, and our best-in-class engineer and product team, for them to understand each other, understand why certain product we're building, why we're doing certain things, and how should we actually address certain risks in the organization, in the infrastructure, to build sustainably. And most interestingly, I think recently we're also seeing some of those going into Web3 as well. Because as we look at Web3, as we look at Web3 wallet, self-custody wallet, the other question that we are also thinking is, where do we need to actually translate some of those shared consciousness of proper risk management into a self-custody world? When we look at different projects, where do we actually look for those type of awareness of the previous checks and balances and governance that we talked about? And when we build our wallet infrastructure, where do we start and where do we stop in putting some of those risk management mechanisms in place? What type of risk tools, what type of awareness we should actually push to our customers to make sure when they manage their own self-custody wallet, they actually have tools to help them understand the risks out there. Because whether it's TradFi or Web3, human nature is human nature. They're always bad guys. How do we help our customers manage those risks out there when they manage their own self-custody wallet? Are there any happy medium? So that is always an important piece. I think it's kind of evolving. We're still developing our knowledge, and I think we'll continue to develop and evolve our product on that basis. And last but not least, I think this is all why we are all here, because ultimately to be an advocate for responsible innovator, ultimately the key word is still innovation. We still need to trust technology and vote for technology and use technology to drive governance, drive better checks and balances, drive better framework building. And that's also why we have been very proudly investing in multiple technology framework internally, both on the CFI side with our proof of reserve infrastructure that we have been continuing to iterate over the last 29 months, but also in our CFI compliance and risk framework, also heavily relying on technology and infrastructure, both in-house AI capabilities as well as third-party tools to make sure that how can we increase the effectiveness of catching the risk factors and blocking the bad guys outside our ecosystem, at the same time reducing the false positive rate. And I think the same applies for Web3, but in a different way. How do we actually continue to develop understanding of that risk management, and ultimately be able to help the whole Web3 ecosystem developers when we develop and when different projects develop community, make sure that those are built, the governance mechanism are actually built into the system. Because ultimately, if we trust that protocol does not lie to people, math does not lie to people, how can we make sure that we have the right protocol in place? I think that will be a particularly acute problem when you have AI and crypto combined. The previous speaker talked about having crypto in one hand. I think Dr. Xiaofeng mentioned that, right? The trend is probably having crypto in one hand and having AI on the other hand, in your other hand. But when you let protocol, when you let machine do a lot more for us as human beings, how do we make sure that whatever is built into the protocol actually reflects the best practice understanding? But you use technology to implement our understanding. That is an important part of our lessons. Again, these are small lessons that we have been learning along our own journey. And I don't think we are there yet. We're still, students in classroom, if you will. And we look forward to also communicating and sharing the knowledge with the community, and also learning from a lot of the builders and practitioners in this space. So hopefully we can build a more sustainable and constructive infrastructure that can ultimately replace the current infrastructure and bring value to everyone involved. Thank you.